What do you think the UFC should do with Leon Edwards when you're looking at it from your perspective? I'm so flustered right now. I'm so flustered.
Hey, you lost, DC. You lost. My list was better. If they get into a team fight, my team wins because my team has 10 people. That's right. We have 10 people. We are the Avengers. You are not. Face it. I win. You can be mad. Go cry to somebody else because I don't care about your tears. And nobody cares about Leon Edwards' tears either. And when when you think of Dana White and you think of the UFC, the one thing you can't do to me, DC, is set Leon Edwards back. Right? Or treat him like he hasn't earned a title shot next because the Jorge Masvidal fight is off. And I'm not gonna lie, you know, I kind of threw it around too that Hamzat should get the shot against Leon.
That's crazy.
But there is no way that Leon Edwards should take that fight. There's no way that Leon Edwards should need to take that fight or be asked to take that fight. But the question for me is this though, DC, if you're Leon Edwards, is it worth waiting for Kamaru Usman to take his family time before you fight again? Because what we've seen and what we saw with his fight with Diaz was in the 5th round, when Nate Diaz did touch him after winning for 4.5 rounds, you think to yourself, oh, it can happen that quick. That quickly, that shot at the championship could have been gone. That's the life of a UFC fighter. That's the life of a mixed martial artist. So if you're Leon Edwards, is it better to just sit on ice and chill until Kamaru Usman is ready? Or do you think of taking another fight against a top contender?
Dude, I'm going to tell you one thing I'm not doing is fighting Khamzat Chimaev. I'm definitely not fighting him because it's such a bad style matchup. And like you said, Ron, why should he have to fight again?
Exactly.
He hasn't lost in 10 fights. And honestly, if he would have waited, he probably could have fought Kamaru Usman anyways. He was next in line. He just took the Masvidal fight. But let's not go crazy here. And I put a video out the other day about Leon Edwards. And honestly, he's fought, Ryan. He fought Bilal Muhammad. Unfortunately, the fight was stopped because of an eye pull. He fought Nate Diaz. He was signed up to fight Jorge Masvidal all this year. So it's not like Leon isn't willing to fight. Leon wants to fight. Leon wants to be in there fighting. And by being willing, by having that win streak, by being undefeated in 10 fights and still willing to take these fights, it gets you good favor with the organization. So now I think it's time for him to just sit and wait, Ryan. He's got his title shot. And honestly, Rocky's a friend of mine. He's a good guy. But with the way Kamaru Usman has fought lately, sometimes what you're asking for is not what you want. Now, Leon feels... Leon feels...
Watch what you ask for. You just might get it.
You just might get it, right? Like, you want a title fight, okay. Now you got to fight the Nigerian Nightmare. But Leon feels like because Usman has done so well with his hands, that gives him more of an opportunity. Because he thinks that Usman's fallen in love with the hands, and by him falling in love with the hands, he makes himself more vulnerable to a guy that has fantastic striking like Leon Edwards.
Yeah, and that's the one thing that I was listening to Leon talk about the Jorge fight being called off or being pulled because of injury is what he feels about fighting Kamaru Usman and the ways that it can be different. I think even when a wrestler like yourself, you became such a great striker, I think when you get in times of crisis, right? And if you're caught with one, if you feel like, okay, this guy's kind of out striking me as we stand, you revert back to what you know. Like you revert back to what you're comfortable. You don't actually, like, you don't excel or your skill doesn't level up on your feet. What happens is you go back to what you've practiced your entire life, which is wrestling. You go back to pinning him against the cage. You go back to shooting for takedowns. You go back to making it a grappling match. And I think Kamaru Usman can do that if it's needed. But he's been so good on his feet. He's been so powerful. He's been so hard to figure out. That's why fights haven't gone to the mat. And so if I'm Leon Edwards, I'm not sitting around thinking to myself, oh, this time it will be different because Kamaru Usman has fallen in love with his stand-up game. Because guess why, DC? He's putting people to sleep that way too. So it doesn't really matter. Like, the dude hasn't lost. And so there is no reason to feel good and pound your chest because you think Kamaru Usman is fighting in a style that benefits you more, because it's probably benefited a lot of the other people he's fought recently, and he still walked out victorious with that belt wrapped around his waist.
Absolutely. And Ryan, you saw it in the first Masvidal fight. When he needed to, he took him down over and over again, really slowed down the fight, spent the time in the clinch to ensure that he kept his championship. Leon Edwards has a tall hill to climb in Kamaru Usman. The guy is the pound-for-pound #1 fighter in the world. He's the best right now.
Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.